representing Franchise Secrets, Garrett Von Horn.
Hey listeners, if you're not in the Franchise Secrets Facebook group, what are you waiting for? It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Now, this is a large community of franchisees, franchisors, buyers, sellers, anybody that's involved in franchising in any way. It's the community to go to. Ask your questions, get answers, help people out, and get help. It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Welcome to the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Eric Van Horn here today with Garrett Schmidt. Now, Garrett is a kid from California that opened up Buffalo Wild Wings in Arizona 20 years ago. Had some locations, closed one, reopened another in 2015, played college soccer in New York, fell in love with Buffalo Wild Wings, and has inspired him to leave California for Buffalo Wild Wings. Now, you see him moving around, like moving his hands if you're watching on video. It's because he's the first time back, like doing everything in the Buffalo Wild Wings, working the line and doing all kinds of stuff, not by choice, but out of necessity. So man, why don't we start there? Give us everything that I missed, but like, why are you in it today?
So I have actually, I've got my staff got Corona. So I have 6 employees, all kitchen team members that are out of work for the next 7 to 10 days. And so I'm here in it. I'm on the line. I'm doing the necessity to cook and to sell the food. And I'm in the trenches now. So apron, shoes, you name it. I'm in there. I haven't cooked on the line in years.
Dude, are you getting any food sent back from the customers? Or like, dude, who is cooking?
Right? Send this back. No, I mean, now I've kind of digressed. I'm kind of on the shake side. So all I'm doing is actually spinning the wings now. I stay away from the grill and the wraps and the other things because I just forgot how to make them. So I'm on the soft side. So I go home smelling and looking like a chicken wing.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Give us a sense. How many Buffalo Wild Wings do you own now?
Yeah, so I have 2 locations, one in Gilbert, Arizona, and one in Casa Grande, Arizona. Both stores are doing extremely well. Been a franchisee for quite some time. And we were just in Vegas for the Blazing Games, which is a new thing that Buffalo Wild Wings is doing. And our store took 3rd place in the nation.
What's Blazing Games? What is that?
So, the Blazing Games is a new competition that Buffalo came out. They put all 1,200 stores into a competition of games with service and things throughout the year, bar sales, service model, you name it, Yelp reviews, whatever it is. And they score you and they rank you and they send the top 10 stores. It went down from 1,200 to 50 and then from 50 to 10 and then from 10, top 3. And we came in 3rd place for my Casa Grande location. So super excited. I was in Vegas for a whole week for that. And it was an amazing experience. My bartender that's actually here right now, she won #1 bartender in the nation. And they might feature her cocktail, the Varsity Blues, in the menu. So that's pretty exciting. So,
dude, that's really exciting. What is it about you having a staff like that gets an award like that and a store that gets an award like that? Like, what is different about you than the other owners?
Man, I think it's the connection that I have, one, with my employees. We're really tight here. My GM's been with me for 6 years at this location, and we've been open 6 years. I think I hired her 2 weeks after we opened. And she's moved up the ranks and she's my GM. My management team have been here I have 5 managers and the newest one has been here 3 years. So they've been here for a long time. They've got, everything's an analogy with football. So they're my Patriots team. I'm the Belichick. They're Tom Brady, or now it's with Tampa, but, everybody's one person's a lineman, one person's a wide receiver, one person's running back. You can't all have quarterbacks or else you won't succeed. So in our business, everyone has different personalities and everyone fits different trades. And we just have to make sure that they fit and we make a good team. So I think that's why our store is so successful, is we really take all the different personalities and mesh them together and find the most dynamic team. And it's really them that do all the work. I'm just behind the scenes, every once in a while cracking a whip or coming down, but motivation and positivity is big amongst the culture we have.
So we just talked about like the rewards that you and your staff in the store have received from Buffalo Wild Wings. And yet I know on this podcast, we're going to be talking about the struggles, some benefits, growth, struggles with employees, mistakes that you've made. And it's, not always is someone just super willing to go into those types of conversations. And I know you do much more than just Buffalo Wild Wings. You've been doing real estate investing, different types of investing, and you're partners with some great people on that, in construction and whatnot. So I definitely want to dive into that as well, because one of the things that I think is missing in the franchise world is people get into franchising and that's all they do. They don't do anything with the money. They don't learn any other kind of skill sets to provide passive income and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to getting into that with you. But let's go back to some of the things that we're going to talk about, some of the struggles, some of the mistakes. But give us kind of an overview of the Buffalo Wild Wings business for those that everyone knows what it is, but like as an owner's perspective, what's it like?
Yeah, well, I know you and I talked briefly out in, where were we? California at the time. But man, talk about mistakes that I've made. I mean, now I'm 45 years old, so I've been a franchisee for 20 years about. So I was 24, 25, just starting a Buffalo Wild Wings. Think about the beer sales and the liquor sales and all the things that everyone throws at you, tickets to Coachella, to EDC, whatever you wanted, it was at your disposal. And, we can get into the mistakes later. But you were talking about, what were you just mentioning?
We were talking about just the business in general as an owner.
As an owner and the struggles and the things that we go through. Our company, when we first started, was not a public company. Then they went public, and then they were just sold recently and went back to private. And so not only has our franchisee stayed the same, but the company itself and what they give you and the tools and stuff have really shifted through the years. They've really gone up and down. And when they went public, everything changed. It was about numbers. And then they went private. It was more about, let's get back to the basics. Let's make things right. And the new company took over, made every mistake. They would come out with menus and being a franchisee for years, we would see the mistakes they made. So they came out with new menus that you had to unscrew everything. And it would take literally probably 20 hours to change menus out. Whereas in a lot of restaurants, they just throw out menus and put new ones in. So there's a lot of back end stuff that a lot of the consumer doesn't see, not only with the labor that has changed through the years, the labor wage and the health insurance that has to be provided, sick pay that was introduced. There's so many back end things that we've had to adopt through the 20 years of being in business. And then not to mention a handbook. An employee handbook is like a Bible. And there's so many laws and things that you have to do. And then marijuana becomes legal. And it's like, how do you incorporate that? And can you send an employee home for being, coming in, smelling or partaking in all that stuff? And then the alcohol sales. I mean, you're dealing with people that you don't know what they've taken in. You're coming in and you're dealing with people drinking and fights and emotions of sports. So there's so many back end stuff that people don't know what really goes on behind the scenes. Everyone said there should be a reality show of this stuff because it's crazy. So that's kind of our business in a nutshell. Things we worry about.
If you want to go deeper as a franchisee, then check out the Franchise Tribe Mastermind. It's a tribe of franchisees across many different brands, sectors, and industries with many things in common besides just franchising. Things like being growth-minded and having a lifestyle focus, remembering why you got into business in the first place, learning from others' mistakes versus just making a bunch of your own mistakes, or helping people avoid the mistakes that you've made. A desire to shortcut the path to success. In other words, franchisees who want to be around like-minded, solution-oriented A players. Check out franchisesecrets.com/mastermind.
And then let's go back to some of the beginning. What were you doing before Buffalo? And I know there was a partnership involved, I believe. And what got you out of California into Arizona, to give some context?
Yeah. So just where I started is I went to school, college in Rochester, New York, played soccer, and they opened up a Buffalo Wild Wings across the street from my campus. And I said, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm a 21-year-old kid. They've got beer, they've got sports, they've got pool tables. I was like, this is the Mecca place. And I moved from California all the way to Rochester, New York, just to play soccer and go to college. And after school, I came back and I'm like, Dad, we need to open up a Buffalo Wild Wings. And he's like, what the hell is that? And I said, it's a restaurant. He goes, well, I'm a dentist and I've been a dentist for 30 years. Do I really want to leave this Monday through Thursday job, right? Working 8 hours a day to go into a 7-day a week, 24-hour business? And I said, yes, you do. And, coming out of college, going back to California, looking for a house in California, it was just kind of pricey for me being 20, 22, 23 years old. And I said, let's do a Buffalo Wild Wings. So we contacted Buffalo Wild Wings. And at the time, my dad was my financial partner in the deal. And he said, let's sign a store deal. And they said, well, you can't have California. We're not ready to go in California. The farthest one in the Mississippi was west of the Mississippi was Colorado. And I'm like, let's do Arizona. And they're like, yeah, we'll let you do Arizona. So we signed a store deal to do out here in Arizona and packed up our bags. I came out here and my parents followed about 4 years later, and never stepped foot in Arizona, never been to Arizona. Drove around in a car for the first day I was here trying to find sites, and said, I don't know, let's try Gilbert. And I moved to Gilbert, and here I am, a single guy, and it's like suburbia, like to a T. And everyone's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, you should be in Scottsdale. Like, you're a single guy, be in Scottsdale. And I don't know what happened. And we ended up in Gilbert. Now it's like the fastest growing city. Everyone wants to live in Gilbert. We were just way ahead of the curve, I guess. I saw potential. And so it was a family business. My dad and I got into it. And then, my mom and dad are kind of actively involved. They sold their dentist office. They moved out to Arizona. They don't come in the stores as much. I pretty much run everything. They're much older now. And it's a fun family dynamic, I should say. So
as you were, and as I hear that story, and I partnered with my parents early on too, and for those that are listening, like, this is how some people get into business. I partnered with my parents. I had cash to be able to do it, but we partnered and we grew faster together. Buffalo Wild Wings is not a small investment, and it's a big risk. So what is it? Was it the opportunity? Was it that they believed in you, or your work ethic? What was it that helped them say, yes, let's do it? Because I can hear a lot of parents out there saying, I would never do that. Or I could hear, 21-year-old kids saying, my parents would never do that. I can't find money anywhere. Like, what was it?
Yeah. So I think it started with my dad and I having a really great relationship. I mean, playing soccer in college, he actually flew out from California to New York for almost every one of my soccer games from my junior and senior year in college, some sophomore year. So, I mean, he's taking red eyes. He's arriving before kickoff, flying home the next day. And that's a long flight, to do that twice a week or once a week for a whole season. So him and I always had like a really tight bond. And I didn't want to be a dentist. And I think he had the mindset of providing for his kids. And he definitely did. Don't get me wrong. I had an amazing childhood by any stretch of the imagination. It was amazing. And he said, I convinced them. I don't know how, but I said, let's do this. Sell your business. Let's do this. We could work together. We could be in a sports bar. We love watching sports together. He's a Packer fan. I'm a Packer. Like, we have a great connection. And so we did it, and we got in, and we had no idea what we were doing. No idea. And I think we lost, I want to say we lost close to $400,000 like our first 2 years. Like, I mean, we were we had no idea. We hired the wrong people. We made every mistake. We overbuilt, which in real estate we'll get into on the flipping side. You can over rehab things. We took everything to the extreme, and that was a lot. My parents won Dentist of the Year in California. They were always recognized with the American Dental Association. They were big time dentists, and he left it. I convinced him, and we look back at it, and it was an amazing decision, but they probably would have been better off in the dentist business Monday through Thursday. Now it's a 24-hour business, basically. So was it the right decision? I think we're all pretty happy, and I think we've had a pretty successful life. So
in 2 years, the first 24 months, no, it wasn't the right decision. If you were to, at that moment, that slice in time, if I was to ask you, you'd probably be like, holy cow, this was not the right decision. Losing $400K or thereabouts doesn't feel good. I mean, I have a buddy that COVID hit, and he was losing about 70 grand a month in his business, and he doubled down. And he changed some things and doubled down. And now he's just, working very little in the business, making more money than he's ever made. And that's what entrepreneurs do. So like, what was it during give us some sense of the struggle of that financial loss? And then what was it that forced you guys to keep going?
Yeah. So there were two things. So on our first building, we actually bought the land in the building, which really set us back. But we took it as an investment so that we could then pay our own salaries, and we can dictate what we had to pay for rent, so we can kind of control our costs. So we bought our building and our land on our first store. And at the time, Buffalo Wild Wings was eager to grow. So they're like, hey, you got to put up stores. You got to put up stores. This is right before they're going, or they just went IPO. I mean, it was just like growth for them. So we put a store 2 miles apart from each other, which was our first big no-no. And on that one, we didn't have the cash enough to buy the land in the building, so we rented. Well, by getting locked in that 10-year lease at an astronomical rent rate, we said, we got to fight through this for 10 years. So we had 2 stores in Gilbert, 2 miles apart, only producing a sale. I think we were doing $1.8 million, 1.9 a year, when you really needed to be about 2.5 to 2.7 to break even in these Buffalo Wild Wings. So it was actually the best thing and the worst thing that can kind of happen at the same time, because I learned how to become an operator where we had to make sure that our pennies really added up. So we really became a really, really tight operator to try to turn profit out of a store that was only producing 1.8, 1.9, 2 million through the 10 years of being in business. As soon as our lease was up in that 10 years, we got rid of that store. We closed it. The other one immediately increased $1.5 million in sales per year, immediately, overnight. And then we moved that other location to Casa Grande. And that's where we're at today, down in Casa Grande, where this store's been open now 6 years.
How far apart is that?
About 45 minutes. So, that was a big, big, big decision. But again, it taught us how to be operators. It taught us how to be tight with our money. It taught us how to shop around things. I mean, I remember at times, they always tell you to get all your supplies from this one vendor. We're driving around to all different vendors saying, hey, how much are gloves? Oh, we can save $1 here. Okay, perfect. We'll save. And we started pulling from all different avenues. And it was stressful because when you have money, you tend to be a little loose with it. Yep. When you don't have it, you really watch what you spend. So we were shopping produce companies. We were shopping, dry goods. We were shopping everything we could to save money. And so it really turned us into a really, really tight operator. So at the end of the day, it was a real blessing. But I'll tell you, the first 10 years of Buffalo Wild Wings was not as easy as people think. I mean, a lot of people come in and they say, wow, you're packed. You're completely busy. And you're like, yeah, it's a football Sunday. And they said, you guys are just killing it. You guys print money. And I said, yeah, but this guest is going to sit here for 4 hours and drink the same soda, or only have 4 beers, or an order of nachos and 1 entree. So they're there and they take up a table, whereas the name of the game is turning tables, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get people in and out. So sports days aren't always your best days. A Friday night when there's no event is sometimes your best day because people come in, they eat for an hour and they leave. And you might get 3 beers on that tab. And then the next table comes in, you get 3 more beers and 3 more beers. And so you really learn all the techniques and strategy to really try to get people in and out of the seat.
I can see why, and that's with so many of us, right? Our struggles, the difficulties, we look back and some people will say, I wouldn't trade it. Like, I am glad I struggled because it's made me better, made me who I am, made my businesses today much more profitable, helped me make better decisions in future locations or whatever it is. So that makes
you hear so many stories of people saying, I was on my last payroll check, or this was the last dollar I had and I had to turn the corner and we were broke and we maxed everything out. I mean, we were so far in credit card debt, it was ridiculous. Like, I don't even know how we got through it. But it was a real struggle at the time. And then, as we learned how to get out of that and learn how to deal with things and learn how to become operators, now we own the land and the building are both our locations. So now it's kind of shifted into a real estate play. And I'm like, well, if we ever sell the business, we're going to keep the buildings and the land. And now we're just collecting rent checks. And then that moves into a whole nother business, so it was the best thing that could ever happen. And again, we had no restaurant experience, zero. Like, I did graphic design. My dad was a dentist, and we're like, let's go run a sports bar that serves, I think we go through 50 kegs, easily in a few days, maybe a week, so we sell a lot of beer. So
I have so many thoughts going through my mind because this isn't a Buffalo Wild Wings problem is why it happened. It was a not having experience in the restaurant or experience in whatever, a much more complicated business versus a painting business or something like that. And then making that mistake of putting a location too close. One of my private clients I'm talking with is struggling with a similar thing. He's like, I want to put locations closer together. And like, you need to be careful with that. And he has reasons why, but and I'm going to have him listen to this because there's a real downside to having things too close. And I think just in general, franchisors tend to want to have more flags planted in a market, and some franchisors want you to do that. And sometimes as a franchisee, you need to give pushback. And other times franchisors are the opposite. They don't want you very, very close to each other. And you might not be able to utilize economies of scales as a result. So, that's why you as the business owner, you need to be able to push your franchisor or listen to them at different times, but you just need to be comfortable in the decisions that you're making. But again, it's not a Buffalo Wild Wings thing. A lot of franchisees are struggling right now in their business with whatever. And like, you should be encouraged to dive in to make things more efficient with whatever that looks like. So what advice would you have for somebody right now that is struggling in their business, or they've got a 3-year problem where they need to become much more efficient with their expenses? What advice would you give them?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that the takeaway that I have is when you're in it, you see things. And by me working the line and actually being in the kitchen on Saturday night, I came back here and I have a list of like 50 things that I have to bring up with my team. And here I am, the store is winning awards. The store is dominating in the Buffalo Wild Wings world. And I realized we're not even close to being running at top notch. I saw so many ineffective things that were going on that I said, I got to change this. So I have a list today that I'm going to meet with my GM and go over. And I went and bought, I think, like, I don't know, $2,000 worth of new equipment and things on Saturday or Sunday. And I said, you guys, you can't operate like this. This is crazy. And so I think getting in the trenches and really why I was so successful for so many years or we got there is that I was in the trenches. I was acting GM. I was an owner, but I was really here every single day. I spent a lot of time here. And by having my finger on the pulse, I was able to, see the problems before they happened and correct them. And I think a lot of business owners, as they grow and as they expand, they're not in the stores. And if you're not in the stores, things get missed and things slip up. And even though you think you have some people watching it, they're not you, right? There's a difference between an owner and an employee. No matter how much you try to say it's not, there's a difference. And when it's OPM, other people's money, they have no problem spending it and dropping things and wasteful and all that stuff. So really getting in. Anyone that's struggling right now, I suggest, hey, put an apron on, get in the store, try it for a day. This opened my eyes up and I said, okay, from now on, once every 3 months, I'm going to come down here and actually work through the night. I'm gonna see it because I see so many things happen, and then I can correct those things, and we can get out in front of them rather than them going on for month after month after month after month. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so, we have an issue with fries. We have an issue with food costs. We always have issues with things, and you try to talk to everyone. You try to implement some things, but some things get missed. Well, now I know why. Okay, we're transferring wings from the transfer pan. Well, the transfer pan isn't designed right. Things are falling in because now we have this new holder that holds our wings, and the transfer pan's too big and the holder's too small. So when you go to dump them, they fall out. Well, that was just a design flaw that the new regime through the years have developed, but no one caught that. So now we need to be on the lookout for something else. And I would have never noticed, and I don't think, no offense to anybody that worked my line, but maybe they didn't either speak up or say something about it, what the issue is. And now we got to go back to corporate and say, hey, we got to re-engineer this. This isn't going to work. We're wasting too much money. So it's like those little things that I don't think you'd really catch unless you're really in the trenches.
Yeah, that's so good. And people working the line, people in the trenches day to day, you get so used to it, you don't see the flaws anymore. Even as owners, you're in it. If you were working it every day, you don't see the things that you do if you're coming in as an outsider looking in. That's why, just as a franchisee, invite an owner to come in, a successful owner to come in, like do an audit, look at your own location or business, and then you go do the same to theirs. Guaranteed you'll be able to mutually help each other out just by having an outsider's perspective that isn't in it day to day. So I love that. You were reactive because of COVID. You had to be, appreciated it, and now you have a proactive approach of replicating that without COVID forcing you to in the future.
Right. No, I recommend too, we did it pre-COVID and we really haven't now because we've been so short staffed with labor issues. But, I'd like my managers to flip flop from time to time. Because like you said, when you're in it, you don't see it. And when you step outside of it, or you have an insider or someone that knows the business, each of my GMs know each other's business. If they went in each other's store, they could correct a million things or find things that each one was missing and that could do better and stronger. And, our goal this year, we increased sales at our Costa Ground store. We're up 1.5 million just this year alone. And, I talked to my GM and I'm like, how are we going to increase that another million next year? How are we going to do it? So it's these little things that we're going to have to execute to be better, to raise that, or else it's never going to happen. It's all those little things. So
you said you have a list of things from being there all night, and you're going to talk to your GM. What does that meeting look like? How do you go into that meeting? What's your mindset going into it? And how does that meeting look, and what's the desired outcome?
So like I said in the beginning, my GM and I are close. My team is close. Our culture is close. I can't sit there and bash. I understand what they're going through. They're short staffed. They're tired. They're working long days. People are calling in. We're dealing with all the restaurant things. So the last thing, I have to understand her paradigm and understand that cleanliness isn't something that I need to really hammer down right now, because I understand they're like, normally our cooks get at 8 o'clock, but since we're short cooks, we're bringing them in at like 10:30 when we open at 11 to save those extra 2.5 hours so we can use them on the back end and keep them here till 6:30 at night rather than cutting them at 3 or 4. So I get we're adjusting, so I can't come at them and say, hey, this is what's wrong. So I have to really praise them, talk about what we can do better, and then just say, hey, I understand that things around us are going to shift how we do things, but if I were to bring new people in, there are certain labels and things that have to be present all the time, because if you are bringing in new staff, that has really no bearing on the operation day to day. That's more of like that's an operation day to day. It's not so much on an employee cleaning and making sure they do stuff. So I really need to approach the meeting as like a positive meeting. We hang out, we say, hey, here's what we could do better. These are some things that I noticed. Hey, let's try to hammer these out the next couple of weeks. I'm not going to expect it overnight. I understand you have a lot on your plate, but let's see where we can revisit. And naturally, people's are going to get defensive, especially when they take pride in their stuff. So it's really more of us agreeing and then either helping them. I mean, one of the things she said the other day, she sent me a text message. My GM said, hey, I know you like to come in and tell us what we can do, but right now we really could use your support. Mm-hmm. And I said, absolutely, you got it. So now that's why I'm here cooking. I drove down on Saturday night at 5:00 at night. It takes me an hour to get here. I will help them go label things. I will go do things. And I think from a culture standpoint, the text message I got back on Sunday was one of the managers like, it's really cool to work for a company where the owners care as much, where they come in and help, and it's not just me pointing and saying, you're doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. It's really creating that culture that says, hey, we can do this together. Let's get through this. This is a valley. Restaurants are definitely just like life and are peaks and valleys. And right now we're in a valley, meaning we just got off this high from Vegas. We're winning the number 3 store. And I come back and I'm like, this is not the number 3 store in the nation. This is like the last store in the nation. And it's just, and she says, we create that mindset that we're in a valley. We're in a struggle right now. We have literally like no cooks. The ones that are here are overworked. They're extremely tired. We're doing everything we can to keep them happy and motivated, but it's a struggle right now. And then there's a new restaurant opening up in our town, and they're taking 100 employees. So it's going to be a struggle.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about investing. So as a business owner, successful Buffalo Wild Wings, and then now you're doing real estate investments and other things. When did you start to go more into investing, and what prompted that?
Yeah, so the Buffalo Wild Wing was open and they were running kind of on autopilot. They were doing really, really well. So I said, how can I take this money that we're making and grow it? And Buffalo Wild Wings at the time, I looked at doing a 4-store deal, and then COVID hit. So we were looking to take the money that we're making and grow it. Because at the end of the day, everyone wants growth. My managers want growth. Everybody that is around me wants to grow, which is I surround myself with those kind of people. So I'm like, how can I keep my team and everyone motivated? I got to grow. So I started looking at learning to do construction so I could build my own Buffalo Wild Wings to save cost. Because I'm always thinking about, hey, like this guy's making this much. How can I save the cost? If I keep my costs down, I can grow exponentially. So I got into real estate with like 2 of my best friends that were out here. We were all out here. One was in real estate. One was doing T-shirts. And we were all, I don't even know how it started. We were hanging out one day, and I think I teamed up with the T-shirt guy. And then we went into my other buddy's office one day, and we're like, hey, let's do a company. I love construction. I love the build. I'm like, let's do this. And we formed a company with literally I had no experience except for I built the 2 Buffalo Wild Wings. I mean, I didn't build them.
You were like the GM, right? You were the GC on that.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, we hired a company to do work, but I was here every single day, right? And I learned a lot. And then I built my house. I hired someone to build my house, and I was there every single day. And now being on the other side of it, I understand what he went through. He was probably like, get out of my hair. And I was there every day pointing things. And now I get mad when clients are there like every single day. But it's funny how roles reversed.
100%.
But we got together and we're like, okay, let's use the money that we're making or what we have, and let's start investing. And one of my partners was in real estate, and I saw the wealth that he had. And I said, I think I need to get into real estate too. And what's funny is that we're now looking at doing Buffalo Wild Wings together. So we went into real estate, we did real estate. And now what I want to do is I want to buy more real estate, and I want to put our office on one side and do another Buffalo Wild Wings on the other side and have like a strip center and own it all. So continue with the real estate theme, but then start running restaurants out of it as well, because I know how to do them. So I was like, man, we could really grow this. This could be great. So, yeah.
So I'm starting, by the time this releases, a mastermind for passive investing. And we've got with my buddy Justin Donald, and we have franchisees in it, franchise consultants, and I'm sure there'll be franchisors in it, and people that are in corporate America in it. It's all about passive deals. Can you give us a sense? And you're not involved in it in any way. You and I are in other masterminds together. But I want to give the audience a sense of returns that people are getting in deals that they're working on. Because so many people, Garrett, are used to very little return when they're investing it because they don't have access to really good deal flow. You have access to really good deal flow. I have access to really good deal flow. So can you give us a sense of what kind of returns people are making on passive deal flows or syndications or things like that, or what you look for?
Man, I mean, right now the deal flow is, I always say, why would I ever go in the restaurants again after real estate? But now it's just kind of to diversify. And at the end of the day, I want to try not to run them as much because they do take a lot of energy. But I mean, returns on investments right now, we're getting anywhere from 8 to 10, 12 to even 15, even 20%. It's crazy. If you find the right deal, it's all in the purchase, right? So if you find the right deal, they pay off big time. And then what's really neat, what I really found about this whole real estate business and meeting up with great mastermind companies or businesses and why they're so important is that now people are like bringing deals to me. And now I feel like I'm at Shark Tank. And people are like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? I'm like, I like it. I don't like it. I like it. I don't like it. And now it's just like, everything just has been elevating at an extremely rapid pace that I never thought in a million years I'd be in this situation. So a lot of investments right now are paying anywhere from 12 to 20%.
If you want to go deeper as a franchisor, I offer private coaching. It's for entrepreneurs who are about to franchise their business, or emerging brands who are dealing with growth, or experienced franchisors who are looking for a fresh perspective. Check out franchisesecrets.com/coaching.
That's what I'm seeing too. And some of the ones that are on the lower end there's equity in some of these companies. You're getting getting some good payments or interest or cash flow, but then there's also equity in addition to 10, 12, 20% payments.
Right. Those are winners.
Yes, those are winners. But I've experienced the same thing that you have. Once you get into the right rooms and you're around other investors, so you don't have to join the mastermind. You don't have to join my mastermind, anybody else's mastermind, but start talking about investing. Get around people that are investing. Start investing in some of these things besides just franchising. Because then deal flow really starts, and I've experienced the same thing, and that's why my business partner in the mastermind, he's provided over 30 deals to his group that are amazing deals, fully vetted, and he's invested in all of them. So I just want to start encouraging people to start thinking about passive income, because so many people, Garrett, they get into business and now the business is running them, or like you said, you have money, you can either grow it or you can spend it. You're like, we made extra money, and you didn't even say spend it, you said grow it. But there's too many people that just start to spend it, and you need to keep the money that you made, preserve it, de-risk deals, and be able to really grow your income passively, where you're not touching it. Invest in a real estate syndication, invest into other companies, and then you just start to grow it, but you just got to get started. Any other advice that you'd recommend to somebody that is thinking about investing beyond just the normal deals that everybody has?
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard. First of all, with the mastermind, I was just adamant about not going. I didn't want to go. I didn't think it was for me. And my partners are like, no, you really got to go. I think you'll benefit. And I'm like, no, I like running my restaurants. I put my head down. I do construction. I stay in my lane. I don't need to venture off. You guys will bring the deals to me, whatever. And I went and I had the greatest time, and I met so many great people, and I learned so much. And man, deals just started like creating relationships. Now one of the guys is like, yeah, hey, what do you think of this? Hey, do you think you can do this construction? Hey, do you think? And it was like, are you kidding me? Like, what have I been missing? My friends, my partners were like, see, I told you, you totally should have done this. And, I definitely recommend it. And now with my business that I've formed with my partners, we're creating so many different opportunities. I think our rental portfolio is through the roof. And now what we
Give us a sense. When you say through the roof, give us a sense of your rental portfolio, because I know it's through the roof.
Well, I say it because I think we're at, I want to say in the past year and a half, we really started locking down on doing rentals because we were pretty new at it. We learned the build cycle. We learned how to rehab and whatnot. And then now we're doing custom home new builds. I mean, it's just gone crazy. I think we have about 26 houses right now that we rent. And now we're getting into, for me, that's through the roof because I had zero.
And how long? In sense, how long?
Year and a half
from 0 to 26 houses. That's through the roof.
Yeah. And now we're getting into high, talking with people from the mastermind. They're like, you need to get into high-end Airbnbs. So now we're building, I think we've got right now, we're in drawings on 3 Airbnbs that are 4,000 square feet, like 2-bedroom that we're going to try to rent for like $3,000 a night. Mm-hmm. Like, and we're putting them right in Old Town. Like we're putting them in places that rent well. And we're like, this is, for me, it's just like, wow, where did this even happen? We went from doing rehabs and spending $20,000 to $50,000 on a rehab, where we'd rehab a house, we'd make like $40,000, $20,000, whatever we made on it, to we're just finishing up our second kind of custom home build, and we're set to make $750 on it. And then now we're doing Airbnb. Like, it's just, for me, it's just completely changed. And it all started with just getting in the right room with the right people. And now I think we invested in some a cauliflower business.
Yeah. I'm in that one too. A cauliflower. Garrett, I know. I sent a picture of the name of that business, because I think we have one of these pizzas in our freezer. And so I said, go take a picture. And sure enough, it was the same one that you and I both invested into. But that's a business, investing into a business, and that should have a really strong return. Again, it's because someone that we know did all the due diligence, brought us into the deal got brought to us, and now we're part of a cauliflower company that anybody that knows cauliflower, they know of this company. And if you know of what those types of companies end up selling for, it's amazing. So
again, it's just, it's getting in the right room and surrounding yourself. And I don't think I'd have that extra passive income. I mean, like I said, the rentals are bringing in money. I'm not doing anything. My partners handle basically the property management side of things and whatnot. I handle our construction side. And then here every month they're like writing me $7,000 checks. And I'm like, what's this for? And they're like, oh, that was for the rentals, some of the rentals. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, sweet.
So here's my takeaway that I think anybody can do. If you have a franchise and you're wanting to venture outside of franchising, if you have a retail franchise, somebody helped build that, did the tenant improvements. You can be that person. You can help other people do that. So there's so many opportunities if you just start thinking, how else can I make money doing the things that are being done for me, whether I do them once or I'm doing them repetitively. I have a friend that started a Facebook ad agency because he had multiple locations, and now he's got a significant business. So you were smart enough to look at an opportunity, you learned it, and moved into everything that you just described, because you learned how to be basically the GC of building these Buffalo Wild Wings, and it just took it on a life of its own. It's really impressive, man. Anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Oh man, well, first, thank you for the opportunity. It's great to get out here. I love to I don't like talking about me at all, but I do like talking about business. I do like talking about operations. I do like talking about things that I've experienced. I mean, we didn't even get into all the mistakes that I made being 24 years old, dancing on the bar, all the things that I should have never done in a Buffalo Wild Wings, being surrounded by, servers and everything else that I just shouldn't have done. But it was just, it's great to be able to get out there. And if there's ever times I can talk to more people or, help with advice, I don't do any consulting, but I love the business. I love the brand. I'm a huge ambassador of Buffalo Wild Wings and just meeting great people and talking about my experiences and things that I messed up on. And I'm definitely not perfect. But as long as we grow and continue to get better, one of the things, it's funny, I always use analogies with sports and I love talking about it because sports is like my life. But when Tom Brady, and I use him a lot because he's a GOAT, right? When he wins the Super Bowl, he goes out and he celebrates, he has a good time, and we all do with our wins, right? You do a real estate investment, something good happens. A thing people in life, they celebrate weddings or whatever it is. Like we all celebrate that. But then that next day, you have to become that leader that says, that was fun. We did great. Now, how do we go get another one? And how do you, as Tom Brady or these people, win Super Bowls and then every year wake up 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later and say, roll up the sleeves, time to go again, right? And creating that mindset with people is so hard because a lot of people in real estate will do a deal, will sell one thing, and they're like, yeah, I did it. Like I'm done. I don't have to do anything ever again. It's like the real true investors and the big people like the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk is that he creates the car, whatever it is, and then he's like, how do I get the space? Or how's my next thing? Or how do I create they keep thinking of the next big thing and how they can continue to grow. And I think all of us as individuals, no matter what we're doing, if we're running restaurants, if we're in real estate, whatever it is, how do we just get better every single day? And I hear a lot, I hear football teams and basketball teams. The other day, Seth Curry was like, I think they're like 7 or 8-1, the Golden State Warriors. And he's like, we're just trying to get better as a basketball team every day. And I hear that basically saying we're good as shit. No one's going to beat us at all. I get that, but it's true. How do you, as an individual, every single day get better at what we do, either in restaurants, make mistakes, learn from them, and pick up and keep going and never get discouraged? So, I think that's the biggest thing that I try to instill with my people. And in real estate too, we do some big deals and we're like, that's awesome. But now let's go get better. Let's build bigger, build for cheaper, make more. So that's the biggest takeaway that I can, or I guess tell people to strive for.
Well, there's a reason you got the awards, and you just described what that reason was. And anybody out there that's talking to top franchisees in any system, this is what you're going to hear. You're going to hear about the mistakes, the struggle, and these different things. Yeah. If you're talking to an underperformer, you're going to hear how it's everybody else's fault. So Garrett, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, I appreciate everything. You guys enjoy. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.